few years back, I wrote a column entitled "A Lesson for the New Year from My Father's Solitary Life." And it went this way. He was born in an obscure village. He worked in a carpenter shop until he was 30. He then became an itinerant preacher. He never held an office. He never had a family or owned a house. He never went to college. He had no credentials but himself. He was only 33 when the public turned against him. He was turned over to his enemies. He was deserted by his friends, and he went through the mockery of a trial. He was nailed to a cross between two thieves. While he was dying, his executioners gambled for his clothing, the only property he had on earth. He was laid in a borrowed grave. 20 centuries have come and gone, and today he is still the central figure of the human race. All the armies that have ever marched, all the navies that have ever sailed, and all the parliaments that have ever sat, and all the kings that have ever reigned have not affected the life of man on this earth as much as that one solitary life. 2013 is now upon us. A lot has happened in those 6 years. It is a new year full of potential, we hope. The rereading of this anonymous poem, more than any other holiday tradition in our family, captures the significance of both Christ's birth and our own individual obligation in the year ahead to choose life in the fullest sense of the gospel. While the poem is entitled "One Solitary Life," its message is anything but one of detachment or distance. To the contrary, we are reminded how a single life remade the universe. In the past, in these recent weeks of Advent preparation, 3 contemporary lives, when I wrote this in 2007, helped me to better understand the meaning of the poem. They were the lives of a young man named Tim Tebow, who was a young college football sensation who won the Heisman Trophy, one of the highest awards here in the United States for college football. It was the life tale of the character of a man named August Rush in a movie of the same name, and then finally it was a brief account of a recent encounter with my life, with the life of my then aging, now deceased father. The poem, of course, represents Christian paradox and presents a stark contrast to the commercialized holiday season most of us have just experienced. Rather than the abundance of gifts, there's little or no human resource, no substantial home, position, education, or network of loyal and influential friends. And yet, notwithstanding the absence of these, indeed perhaps because of the absence of these, there is great transforming achievement of more lasting significance than that accomplished by the most powerful political figure or military force. The source of that achieving power may not at first read be obvious, and so here is where considering the poem in the context of these 3 modern lives reveals it. Love. Tim Tebow was loved by a mother who refused to accept a medical diagnosis that Tim be aborted. In the movie, August Rush, a musical prodigy in an orphanage, employs the power of music and the love beneath it to reunite with his parents who, like so many moderns, place career and individual aspiration over family. There is a sense of think what we would have missed if either of the young Tebow or Rush had been taken from us. Of course, think what we would have missed in terms of salvation and eternity had the Father not so loved the world that he gave us his only begotten Son. But until a recent visit with my own elderly father, I doubt I grasped the meaning of the poem. An afternoon with my father, you see, can be embarrassing. Since my mother's passing a few years ago, his clothing has taken on a very definite tie-dyed look. His diet is irregular and often part of his wardrobe as well. And perhaps most distressingly, in public places, he no longer seems capable of modulating his voice. Unlike his more reticent and private son, my father thinks nothing of strolling loudly through public libraries and offices distributing Christmas greetings and 28 languages. And so it was, in sadness more than discomfort, I thought of, how does my father's solitary life matter? After all, unlike Tebow's headlining of the sports pages or Rush's movie reviews, there is little sense that on the day God calls Dad home, which he has now, that his contemporaries will stop to take notice. But suddenly, there it was, the true meaning of this poetic holiday classic. It is not that each solitary life must prove to the world's satisfaction that it has great value. It is simply that it does. That my father's solitary life, or your own, or our own for that matter, may never eclipse the achievements of famous quarterbacks or admirals or presidents and kings, says nothing about the love that it can convey and the difference it can make in the lives of others. Yes, sometimes even in 28 different languages. Merry Christmas. The warmest of blessings to you and your family from all of the Kmiec here in Southern California. God bless.